In this video, we'll learn how to lay out a Bootstrap 4 full screen image slider with HTML5 and CSS3. So let's take a look at it here before we get started. At the bottom of the screen, we have slide indicators, which we can use to navigate back and forth to different slides, as well as the previous and next buttons off to the side. So the cool thing about this slider is that it's responsive and it's going to stay 100% of the width and 100% of the height no matter how wide or narrow we flex it down to. And as you'll notice when we flex it back up, on the first image slide, the heading and the text underneath are going to appear. So in the description of this video will be the starter files if you want to follow along with the complete download to the image slider. I'm going to be using Sublime Text, where I have index.html open, as well as Google Chrome as my web browser where I'll be viewing the image slider. Also included in the download are the 3 images that will be used throughout the tutorial. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to Sublime Text, where I have index.html, and we'll get started. The first thing we'll notice is that we have a little bit of information started for us with the heading 2 down here with the Bootstrap P class h2, and then in our style section we have a little bit added for us. So let's start from the top though. So our title, we have Bootstrap 4 full screen image slider. Then we have the Bootstrap CSS file here we're linking to, followed by the latest version of jQuery, and then the latest version of Popper here, so poppermin.js, and then we have the latest version of Bootstrap's JS file. So inside of our CSS section, we have our height and width already set for our slider, and then we have a little fix here for our slider for Firefox, and then of course we have a little bit of styling for our heading 2 text here. Okay, so let's drop down to the body section and we'll get started with the first of our Bootstrap 4 image slider tag. So we're going to wrap this inside of a header. So we'll just lay out the HTML5 tag header. Then inside of this, we'll have our div ID, which we're going to call carousel example indicators. So that's going to be the indicators at the bottom of our slider, which we're going to start with. So carousel, then capital E in example and capital I in indicators. And then we're going to give this a class, and we're going to say carousel space slide, and then we're going to say data dash ride carousel, and then we can drop down and we'll close out this div. Okay. Alright, so then inside of that, for each indicator, we're going to need a list item. So we're going to wrap that with an ordered list. So we'll say OL for ordered list, then class carousel dash indicators. And then we can close out our ordered list and start our list items inside of it. So we'll say li data dash target, and then hashtag for our ID above, or pound, whatever you want to call it, carousel example indicators, and then data slide to, and we always start with 0. So it's going to be 0 for our first slide. And then we'll say class active, because we want our first one to be active. Okay, and then you can close out your list item. And to save us some time, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it. And then all we need to do is take out the class active, and we'll change 0 to 1 for the second slide. And then we can just copy this one and paste it in, and we'll just change 1 to 2. Okay, so that does it for our indicators that appear at the bottom of our image slider. So the next thing that we're going to do is add our carousel images or slider images. Okay, so let's start this off with a div class. We'll say carousel-inner, and then roll a list box. And underneath this div class, I'm going to go ahead and create an invisible comment here in the HTML saying that our first slide is starting with just saying slide 1. Then I'll close out the comment. And now we can start our next div class where we'll say carousel.item active. We want it to be active since it's our first slide. And then inside of the tag, the div tag, we'll have style background-image URL and then img/bar.jpg. So all of our images will be bar.jpg. We just have bar1, and bar2. Okay, and then we can drop down, and here we have our first image displaying already for us. And let's add our text under here. So we're going to create a carousel caption div class. So carousel-caption, and then dnone, and dmd block. So on medium screens in Bootstrap, it's going to display block. Anything less than that, it's not going to display. All right, so we'll close out the div for that, and then inside of it we'll have our heading 3 where it says first slide. And then underneath that we'll have a paragraph where it says this is a description for the first slide. So I'll just copy that and paste it in. Okay. Alright, so now we just need to close out that div above for our carousel item. And I'm going to create another invisible comment here saying that we're starting slide 2. Okay, so we'll need less HTML here because it's not the first active one, and then we don't have titles underneath. So we'll just say div class carousel item, and then we'll add our background image in style. So this one's going to be URL in parentheses and single quote img/ since we're in the image folder, and then bar2.jpg. Okay, and then we can close out our div class. And now if we go and refresh, there we have our titles down there. And then we can go to our second image. So if we wait a second, it's going to slide to it. Or we can use the indicator at the bottom here to get back and forth from the first and second slides. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our third slide here. So I'm just going to write slide 3. And then div class, once again, carousel item. And then style, background image, URL, and then in parentheses, single quote, img/bar3.jpg. Okay, and then we'll close out the div. Alright, so now if we go and refresh Google Chrome, we'll have all 3 images displaying. We just need to close out the carousel inner section, and I'm going to make a comment here saying end of carousel inner. Alright, so the next thing that we'll add, let's take a quick look at it here. So we can link to all 3 slides, but we don't have our previous and next buttons yet. So let's go ahead and add those in. Okay, so we're going to create an A class here, and we're going to call it carousel-control-prev, P-R-E-V for previous, which will be the link on our left side. And then we're going to say href and then hashtag carousel example indicators to link to that div ID that we created at the beginning of our HTML. Then we'll say role button and data slide prev for previous. Okay, then we can drop down and we'll need an icon for that, for our button. So we'll say span class carousel-control-prev-icon and then area-hidden true. So we're not always going to see the icon, not unless we're hovering over that link area for the A class. Okay, and then optionally we can add an SR only class here for people who use screen readers, so they'll know that it says previous here. Okay, so it's showing up, but we have some text appearing next to it, which will solve itself in just a second. So let's drop down and we can go ahead and close out our A tag here. All right. Okay, so now we're not seeing the text. And I'm going to save us some time, I'm going to go ahead and just copy our A class here. Alright, and all we need to do is change all of our previous text here to next. Okay, so now if we go and refresh, we have both of our buttons appearing here. Alright, so that does it. I want to thank you for watching. Please remember to like this video, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.